Are you struggling with roadblocks as a woman in the challenging and constantly changing world of corporate America? If you feel stuck in your career, you may be holding yourself back and may not even realize it. Prepare to be enlightened by the meaningful discussions here at the No Woman Left Behind podcast. Each week, gather the insight you need to break down those walls of limiting beliefs. Unleash your full potential and unlock the leader within. Listen to raw conversations with corporate women as they share inspiring stories with the purpose of obtaining their dream career and living a truly fulfilling life. Here's your host, Rosie Zilinskas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the No Woman Left Behind podcast show. I'm Rosie Zilinskas, your podcast host. Today I am featuring Alicia Marcos Birong. She is a pioneer in the field of child mindfulness, an international best-selling author and Amazon bestseller. Alicia's passion for empowering children is evident. With over 25 years of experience as a therapist, life coach, and hypnotherapist, Alicia shares her expertise with communities nationwide. You may have seen her on national television or working alongside companies like Coca-Cola, Air Force Academy, and the Girl Scouts of America. I think this conversation is extremely important, especially for parents, because the conversation is going to be focused around empowering younger girls ages 8 to 14, which obviously when we empower our younger girls, then we have more confident teens, and that transfers into the workforce as women once they actually get to that spot. So the conversation is going to be very interesting, and we have a lot of really good information for you if you're a parent on how to handle or deal with your younger children. So stay tuned for Alicia's conversation. Alicia Marcos Birong, thank you so much for being on the podcast show. Alicia, I wanted to ask you, tell me a little bit about why you started ChatterGirls and why you started it.
Well, I really started ChatterGirls because of my challenges as a young girl, being very, very quiet and not really a talker at all. And I had no self-confidence. And so what really brought me to, after I spent many years working with kids and women, what really brought me to the final place was one day I had a young girl who was 10 in my office, and I had a woman who was 45 in my office. And at the end of the day, I looked at that and said, wow, they have the same issues. It is both of them have no confidence. And what if we could help their confidence in the younger years to make them, or to help them be powerful women? And that was my ultimate goal. I did a lot of research on it. I looked at what happens between 8 and 14, and that absolutely is the confidence time. If you don't look at your confidence between 8 and 14 and work on it, you will not touch it again till between 30 and 40. And the reason why is now you're in the marketplace. Now you have a job and you really are good at that job, but you have no self-confidence. So that really is what clicked for me to be able to say, what are those women telling me? What are those girls telling me? And how can I help them? Because they had come to me individually. So now I wanted to develop it as activities and situations for groups.
Wow, that is incredible. And obviously in the intro, I mentioned that you are a licensed therapist, but you're actually a pioneer in pediatric coaching and hypnotherapy. So for you to have a young girl and then an adult woman telling you the same things, that's pretty revealing. And I didn't realize that so I know that the young girls, their confidence peaks at age 9. because I know that I read a psychiatrist did a study, and but I didn't realize that they didn't touch or work on their self-confidence again until they're in their 30s and in the workplace. And obviously the conversation that we're having today is how young girls foster that confidence when they're young, so that we don't have women in their 40s sitting in your office talking about lack of self-confidence.
Exactly.
So, okay, so I already said that it helps young girls ages 8 to 14. Tell me a little bit, what have you observed with Chatter Girl programs that you've done in the past, and how has that helped these young girls?
Well, one of the things that I love about the program that I wrote is that Chatter Girls works with every young girl. She can have Asperger's, she can have ADD, she can have major anxiety and not be able to speak in a room. She can have ADD, she can have all kinds of variety of issues. But when they come together, and they have a common ground and they work through the process and begin to realize that they're in control of their mind with the tools, and they don't necessarily have to accept what everybody else says. You know, they don't have to accept the fact that the bully says you're stupid, or that somebody didn't like the way your hair looked that day, or they scare you when you come into the room with them. That was my thing. And so, through the process and the ways that we work with the girls, they can do the program more than once, which we've seen them as they get older, as they do different times. But each sessions for 2 hours, 5 days, we give that parent back a different child.
Wow.
And moms and dads tell us, okay, I left this girl, she wouldn't speak, and now it's the 5th session and she won't be quiet. That's right. That's it, because they have their power. Right. And that power is going to go on through high school and college and in the workplace.
That's awesome. And so I know for the listeners that aren't watching the YouTube, Alicia has a background, it's Chatter. So it's as in the chatter in your head. So it's Chatter Girls. And so how did you come up with that name? Is it talking about chatter externally or the chatter in your brain?
The chatter in your brain, because as a hypnotherapist, I had always worked with the chatter in our mind and always putting it somewhere. And as we do in Chatter Girls, and as I did for years with the kids, we put it in a box. The box is in the image of yourself. So the girls decorate the box up and it looks beautiful. So through the process, we do what we call journey to the mind. We do a visualization process with the girls to really listen to what all that stuff is that we call chatter, that says, this is, you're nasty, I'm angry, I'm ugly, all those things that keep on and on and on. As an adult, for me, they kept on for long, long times. And I'm not saying that we eliminate them. I teach you to take the tools and learn how to keep on letting go, because it's always going to come back. There's going to always be some chatter. You know, when I'm standing in front of a stage getting ready to talk to a group of people, some of it comes in and says, oh, what do you think you're doing?
Yes.
And then I look around and I go, I know what I'm doing. I'm changing lives. And so all that little young girl who is quiet and afraid leaves. She leaves. And that's what we want to happen for the women, and I worked with women in halfway houses, and they had no confidence. They had no self-esteem, but most of all, they didn't know how to be women because they never grew up at all.
Oh.
They didn't. They decided to do drugs, and then they decided to be a mother, or they got pregnant, or all that other stuff happened. So the process of becoming a mom and becoming a woman was let go. So when I worked with those women, I was working with kids. It was kids who I was working because that was their mentality. And we took them to the world of teaching them that there was more out there for them, and how to be able to cook or have a garden or be able to write a thought in a book and go, oh my gosh, that's how I feel. All of those things that belong to us as women, if we decide to own them, but they also should belong to us as children,
Mm.
so that when we become women, we're not behind. We're ahead of the game. We can do it because we've learned these tools. And, I had one girl who, she came to my very first Chatter Girls. And then years later, she came back to be a mentor. And I use high school girls and college girls as mentors because I'm a little older and those young girls really know how to talk to girls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And she came back and it was time to go to college. And she said, Alicia, I'm writing my dissertation for college to get into college about Chatter Girls and how it changed my life, and how coming back and helping the girls and telling them my story really changed my life. And what the amazing thing is that the year that she got ready to graduate, her dad died right before Christmas. And when we talked, she said, but I have the strength within to be able to do what I need to do.
Mm.
And it was tough. It was tough. But she already had the strength. And because she did, she dealt with it very much differently than a lot of other people. So let's teach them the tools. I have an 11-year-old granddaughter, and every year that she's gone through Chatter Girls since the age of 9, I see her grow more and more. I see her use her tools. I see her stand up for who she is. Of course, her mom's a big part of that. And her mom helped me write Chatter Girls because she went through her challenges and she knew what her and I had challenged with, but she also knew the skills that I taught her that I didn't know, to be able to have her be a very successful woman in her life.
Wow, so you said a lot there, but I want to go back to the visualization of these young girls. So if you teach them to visualize how they can be, what goals they can attain, how good life can be in the future, then visualization is perfect for that. And on the flip side, the women that you said were adults, that were mothers or drug addicts or whatever, that you were actually dealing with their mind, because inside they were like full grown women, but their mind was from like a child. So what do you think lacked those women that they weren't able to mature into a full grown woman?
I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of these women were in a low income poverty situations. It wasn't the priority to be able to, do things. And then, the choices were limited. And a lot of them chose the drugs and, the alcohol because it just made things easier, they thought. But I think that even in those areas, in other areas, when I was a youth minister, it was the same thing. One of the ways that we do Chatter Girls is we look at 5 things. We look at a mirror. We have the girls look at a mirror. We look at the mask that we all put on, and we all put one on, no matter how old we are. We look at the chatter in our mind. We look at, where is our voice? Is it here? Or are we going to learn how to open it and be able to say, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be, and I have the power within myself to do it. And then the last session is 100% me, really being able to continue to celebrate where they're going, what they're doing. Yes, we're going to all stumble. But one of the things that we do is with the visualization is we have audios, and those girls have those audios for life. All they have to do is just turn on their little phone or iPad or whatever it is. And just if they've had a bad day at school, moms know, okay, why don't you go and listen to one of your audios from ChatterGirls? Moms say the girl comes back, she's fine.
Wow.
Because she's taken back her power. She's remembered what she can do about the situation, and she's ready to move on. And it's a matter of like that. It's not this long period that we do, that we carry stuff for months and years.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine letting go of it. And that was what I was doing with the women. Absolutely. And so they began to change. They began to realize they had a value. And that was the most important thing with working with them, was to teach them and help them understand no matter what road you've been going down, it doesn't mean you have to keep on going down that road.
Right.
No?
And, even for people that don't have the means to, say, go to therapy or have higher education, you still can journal, in any notebook that you have. You can still sit down and meditate. And there's a million different types of meditation on YouTube that most people have a phone nowadays or a computer. So it doesn't necessarily be that you have to go to a therapist like Alicia, but there are tools that you can seek. I think the biggest thing is, do you know that there's better out there, that you can be different, that you can think differently? Because I've known people that I've been doing personal development for a billion years now, it seems. But I know that there's people out there that are new to personal development, or that they're just now figuring out that there is such a thing as personal development. And I'm not talking about education like textbooks or anything like that. I'm talking about your spirit, the chatter in your head, your self-confidence, all that good stuff. Now, children's mental health obviously translates into women in power. So ChatterGirls is a specific program, but what other things do you see with even younger children? Or I don't know, do you see even younger children in your practice? And what are some of the concerns that you see with the even younger children?
Well, the big question here goes to the situation of, and you use the word, and this is what we're looking at, especially during COVID. Okay. We've had mental illness is all of a sudden skyrocketed, but we also have mental health. And that's why I practice as a life coach, a pediatric life coach, because we give everyone, and a regular life coach, but we give everyone an opportunity if they're afraid and they know, okay, I don't have a mental illness, but I can't manage my anxiety or my stress or any of that. There's many people out there that are approaching it in that way. And there's lots more books than, I always tell people, and I think, you probably understand this, Rosie, is like when I was a therapist and a youth minister and all these stuff. But when I decided to be a hypnotherapist and a life coach, there wasn't anybody doing what I was doing anywhere. Now there's one on every block. And because there's one on every block, find one that'll help you. You don't have to go there and say, well, I don't need meds. Well, maybe you don't need meds, but you need some tools. And that's what coaches are about. They're giving you tools. But most coaches also have the knowledge to be able to say, I think I'm only able to help you in this area. Maybe you need to go to the next step. And for me, I work with a lot of psychiatrists because I have my LPC and my background in counseling. They have a lot of respect for me because a lot of times they'll say, I know that when I get a client from you, Alicia, it's one that really does need meds because you've done everything possible. So they need me and you. And that's it. It's not a competition. It's collaborating with other professionals. I don't see women as much as I used to, because I'm focusing on the kids to be stronger kids. So when there are women out there, that I just sent you somebody to be able to work with, because I know that there are people who are just focusing on that. And people know that I'm just mainly focusing on this generation to make a difference, because they really got a slap in their face through COVID. They really did.
Right. And then, so the younger kids, are there specific tools or conditions that you're seeing that kind of impact that mental health conversation, which specifically is more towards, for our purposes, that self-confidence that again translates into an adult life?
Well, a lot of the kids are angry. A lot of our kids are anxious. And a lot of our kids are living in fear. Imagine that you see the last day of school on the news, or you hear that all these kids were killed at their school, the last day of school. Wouldn't you think your kid might, if they got that information, they might be kind of scared about going back to school? I have kids who don't want to go to parades ever again.
Right.
There's all of it. And what I say to parents is, you've got to have the time and sit down with them. You've got to listen to them. You've got to hear what they're hearing. The younger ones are not exposed to the media as much as the other kids are, but the kids are still talking. And if there is a focus that your child comes home and is scared one day, you have to ask them. But remember, listen to them. Keep the door open for them to know that you're going to be there to listen to them. Maybe, teach them how to journal. I have a lot of, we have journals for girls, period, that we put out. And the other thing I love to do is affirmations. We have affirmations, and put an affirmation, even if you write it, or we have some free ones on our page. Put an affirmation in that backpack. Put an affirmation on that mirror or that refrigerator. Give them a positive thought. And it's not just for them, it's for you too. Start your day out with that positive thing. Journaling helps us take things from the mind and take away its power. My thought always has been, if we keep it in the mind, it has too much power.
Right.
If we put it on a piece of paper, then it takes some of the power away, and it begins to allow us to free our mind up to figure out what to do with it. And let me tell you, a 5-year-old can do it, a 6-year-old can do it. And if they can't write, they can draw.
Absolutely.
Love to see them draw their pictures, and, oh, Miss Alicia, this little boy was doing this or whatever. And I smile, because I'm like, okay, that kid's not going to be seeing me when he's 15.
Right.
Over a kid that made him angry in second grade or first grade. I don't, I won't be around, but there'll be other people out there. But we have to work on this. And you're right, Rosie. There are a lot of people out there trying to help. And I want to have a lot more. That's why I teach pediatric hypnosis and life coaching, because I want to have a lot more people doing to help these kids.
Absolutely.
To help women of the future. And
to your point, when you're teaching this, I know you have a certification program. Do the people that go through this program have to have a medical background?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So
they have to love kids.
Yes.
And want to help the kids on their journey. I will give them all the knowledge, all the background, all the development stages, everything they know to be able to be qualified to sit with that child. But most of all, they have to have a story.
Got it.
Share with the child, because when the child hears your story, they're feeling the freedom to tell you theirs.
Yes. So I'm going to give you a perfect example of what you just said as far as journaling. Years ago, it must have been like 2007. I was going through a really bad divorce, and I went to a personal development course called the Landmark Forum.
I've been there.
Okay. Yay. Yeah. So we're Landmark alumni, but in Landmark, as you might remember, they make you write down your story, everything that's like holding power in your head and your heart. And they give you, I think, like 30 minutes to write, and you have to physically write it. So we had notebooks and we wrote our story, and, you write. And then at the end of the exercise, you have to sit with a partner and you have to read your story. And the magic came in when you were reading your story, and at the end of the exercise, everybody was laughing, Alicia, about everything that they wrote, because once you read it like the fourth or the fifth time, you're like, this is so stupid. Like, why do I have all this negativity about this event that is happening and that I have no control over? And everybody you could just see like a collective sigh of relief in the room, like, because you let that go. And Landmark Forum to me saved my sanity, because it still took me probably another couple of years to get done with my divorce. But after that, it was like, all right, it's just a process. And in my head, the worst case scenario would be that I would lose custody of my children, but I was still going to be their mother. I was still going to see them. I was still going to care for them. And once I got that fear out of my head and my heart, I was able to just go through the process. And ultimately, I ended up getting full custody of my kids. But it was exactly what you said, Alicia, where you just like journal it, and then it's like a brain dump. And if you read it over and over, you're just like, it's just words on a piece of paper. So it works. I know it works.
It does. And that's exactly, but for the kids, sometimes they want something immediate. So they don't want to write a journal. So that's why I tell them, you find your piece of paper, you write that word angry on it, or mad at Johnny or whatever, put it in your secret place for your box. And then on another day, when you're feeling really good, go get that box and look at that piece of paper and go, I'm not angry at Johnny anymore. He did this and he's a wonderful person. But
awesome.
Johnny would have still been feeling that situation from you if you hadn't have let it go and put it aside so you can move forward. And so I really feel like tools for kids and for adults is essential. And I was laughing with someone, I don't know if it was at the event you and I were at or whatever, but we were talking about journals and at this event, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I got hundreds of journals, but I burned them up. And I'm going, I didn't.
Oh gosh, no, I have all mine.
I want my kids to see mine when I'm older, to see that all the crud that I went through.
I don't know that I necessarily want my kids to feel that way.
I still survived.
Yeah.
Because I have lots of secrets, and but there were things we don't tell our kids because we protect them.
Right.
And it's okay as we become adults and best friends with our children. It's okay for them to be able to share those secrets and stuff like that. So my daughter was kidding me one day, and she says, "Oh, I can't wait to read these." I go, well, unless Bill burns them or my husband reads them or whatever, but yeah, it's the best thing.
That's really awesome. Okay, so I want to go back to, and actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about a mutual friend that we both love, Michelle Mehta. And she was here a couple of weeks ago. And one of the really cool things that she said that she recommends parents to do is to change language slightly. So for example, if your kid is always playing video games and your go-to is like, why do you always play video games? Instead of saying why, which is accusatory, say, what do you feel when you play video games? How do you enjoy, or what is it about video games that you enjoy? So it's going from the why to the what or the how. Do you find that that's the same with younger kids as well?
It is, because immediately if it's a situation of you're accusing them of something, and so once the accusation comes out, they shut down like we all do. So really teaching parents, and I do this just like Michelle does, is I work with parents a lot. Like when I have a child, I spend part of my time with the parents going, okay, this is the issue. Let's look and see if we can approach it this way. And as I said earlier, it's more about listening to your child than talking to your child. In other words, your child needs to know that you're going to listen. One of the things that we do in ChatterGirls is that at the end of every session, before moms and dads come and pick their kids up, they've had a letter from me. And in the letter, it says, this is what we did today. And here are the questions to ask your child so that you get something besides, how was it? Fine, fine. No, we don't like any more fines. We want to know. And when the children realize you really do want to know, then the fines go out the window,
Right.
But you have to change your tone, you have to change your language, and you have to engage.
Yes.
Engaging is a really important thing. And if you have lots of children, separating each child and engaging with them separately on special days, or we're going to go out and have our nails done, or we're going to go for a walk or whatever. Every child deserves that opportunity to be with their parents on special times when they're not putting out a fire. Think about all the different things going on daily, but that child deserves the time of the real you, the one of quality who wants to say, oh, that's really cool.
Absolutely. And incidentally, that same wording that you're teaching parents, they in turn can use it at work.
Yes.
Because if they're managers and they have direct reports, then instead of doing why are you doing this, you can completely change the language and say, what is it about this that's being difficult? Or what is it about this that's challenging? Or, change the verbiage a little bit. And I'll go even one step further. When you ask for feedback, you can understand, I should say, you go in there with a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, and you take the feedback. And obviously when someone tells you that you're doing something wrong, it's always going to sting a little bit, but we're human. You take the tools that they're telling you to use and be able to implement them so that you can improve in whatever it is that you're having challenges on. So that same language applies to children, teens, and adults.
It really does, Rosie. And the one thing that I find is that when people come in and have their issues and stuff, especially like leadership or being able to work with a team in situations, the issues usually aren't necessarily about that team or the leader. It's about the background. It's about what happened on the playground. And so that once again is a matter of developing something to be able to have those tools so we don't take it into adulthood. When I did leadership training with women years ago, that would be the first question. Tell me your story of when you were 10, and what happened at 10 that was so horrible. Now tell me what is happening at 35 that's so horrible. Now link them together. Oh, okay. So you didn't fix it. You didn't work through it. You didn't journal it. You didn't take care of it in your mind. It's coming back. Do you want to keep having it come back at 45?
Yes, exactly.
You want to keep losing your job because it's the same thing? That's why we have to equip our children. And we have to work with the people in the marketplace who didn't have the luxury of being able to do that, and teaching them. all the skills, we're getting ready to do a ChatterGirls moms and daughter retreat. And the reason to do it is for moms to be able to look at their issues, because do you remember the information situation of when you get ready to speak and you're going, I swore I would never say that because that's what my mom said. And there it comes out and you're going, uh-oh. So it's a situation of give the moms, they didn't have what they need, but allow them to go back on their journey and help them say, okay, it's time to go. I'm grown up. I need to move forward.
And once again, the Landmark Forum, and this is not an advertisement for the Landmark Forum whatsoever, but does that very thing. It kind of goes back and you uncover your wounds. And incidentally, after that, I don't remember what my story was because I just forgot it. It didn't matter anymore. I didn't give it power anymore. So it kind of just left me because I tried to remember. I'm like, I have no idea. So not that I'm, perfect or by any means, but as you shed all of the hurts that you go through your life, you're able to make room for other things that you can enjoy life and you can, move on. And I think a lot of times people are so focused on all the bad things that happened in their life in the past that it's hard to let go and again open up to that future. So you tell me if that sounds right.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I always tell everybody, especially even the kids, I always say, life is an onion and we have a lot of layers, but we have a core and we started somewhere. But through the life, we put on layers and layers. It comes a point where the same one of the layers on there is being revisited with a new layer. And when it does that, then everything falls apart in our mind. And so what we want to do is let go of it before it comes back. I agree. I love Landmark. I learned a lot from Landmark, and I had, in fact, I went to life coaching school with a whole team of Landmark. It was great fun. And, but we all have the same philosophies. And that's why we talk so much about hypnosis and how hypnosis can help that, because everybody thinks hypnosis is just this magic thing, but it isn't. It allows you to go deep. It allows you to go in. Not everybody can go to the place of NLP and have it released. Some people have to go in deeper. But as we teach kids how to go deeper at an early age and develop it, then those children are going to be able to do NLP, EMDR, all those other avenues to be able to release anyway. I mean, I love the world that we live in right now when it comes to things to be able to help people heal. I don't like the way the world is, but I like the healing mentality of I don't have to just go get a pill for this. I don't, I can work on it myself. And if I can't fix it, then it's okay to get somebody to help me.
Right.
I think that part of the world has changed. I mean, I never saw a therapist until late in life when I was going through a divorce and my life was falling apart. Yeah. And, then I thought I was this horrible mom and all this other stuff. So,
yeah. And you know what, as far as what you just said is, I also didn't go to therapy until I was going through my divorce. And what's interesting to me, what's a big difference today is that we are having these mental health conversations and we are saying it's okay to go to therapy. You don't have a problem with you. You're not defective or nobody's going to make fun of you for going to therapy. It's actually good to go get therapy so that you can take care of your mental health. Whereas back then, it was embarrassing to tell people that you were going to therapy. And I remember making that phone call. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm actually making this phone call. And I hung up a couple of times because we actually had physical phones back then.
Yeah, I remember those days.
So, it's a good place to be in the fact that we are talking about mental health. And one thing that I also mention often in different venues is I don't know if you ever saw the show Ted Lasso. It's on Apple.
Oh, I've been watching the whole show. I just finished it. It's amazing. I love it.
Amazing. It's one of my most favorite shows in like the last 20 years. And the reason is, and to be transparent, the first time that I tried to watch it, the first two, my husband and I watched the first two episodes and we're like, oh, this is too silly. But, someone's like, keep watching it. So I went back to it and it just captured me because the transition from him from this silly person to this person that had panic attacks and that eventually said it in a conference, like one of those like newspaper conferences or whatever, that he has anxiety and a panic attack. And he was embarrassed at first, but then he started to see a therapist and he's like, okay, I can do this. And the therapist helped him. And I just loved the show because it was funny. Roy was like one of my favorites, even though he cursed like a truck driver. But at the end, it was all about mental health and community and people helping each other and being there for each other. And I just loved it. It's like my most favorite show, like I said, in the last 20 years. So it was fantastic.
I kept trying to figure out who was the one who told me about it, and you told me us about it at the Air Force Academy. You were the one I kept trying to figure out, but I did. I watched the whole thing in like 2 days.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's fantastic.
So I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, me too. Probably not anytime soon, but yes, I'm going to definitely watch it again. Okay, so I know that you want to spread the message across the world.
Yes.
For young girls so that they have the tools to become stronger and confident women in the world. And you're doing it through ChatterGirls.
Yes.
So Alicia's contact information is going to be in my blog and all of her links. But Alicia, tell me, as far as the program for ChatterGirls, how many programs are you coming up? Or are you going to be doing in the near future? What is the vision for ChatterGirls in the future?
Well, in October in 2023, we'll be 10 years old. And so this year, when I turned 70, I decided that this whole year was going to be focused on going national with our program. So at this point, we're putting together a sales force to be able to help us spread it throughout the United States, to give the opportunity for people who love working with kids or just want to help their daughters and their friends to have a ChatterGirl program near them. We have all the training and everything, but my goal is to be in that October is to be able to say, I'm in at least 5 states, if not more. And that's my goal. It really is. We know the program works. We've got all our affirmations. We've got all our kids. We know it works, and we've worked with already hundreds of girls. So we keep on working, and now we've brought in the mom part. So we want to help both, and so that is my vision for the next till next October. And I want to be able to stand in a room with hopefully girls from all over the country to be able to celebrate 10 years.
That's amazing, Lisa. 10 years. That's fantastic. Yeah, I did read that you started the ChatterGirls in 2013. So that's awesome. And you have a book called ChatterGirls, right? Or something close to that. Tell me about your book.
Here's maybe you're not going to see it. If I put it here, you will.
Right there. Yep.
Yeah, it's called Changing the Chatter and Looking Beyond the Mirror. And my daughter actually helped me write this book. We wrote it for my granddaughter. It goes through the phases of ChatterGirls, but it really does. If moms say, well, we don't have that program near me, or I can't do it yet, this book is there to help you right now. It's right there.
I love it. Okay, so I do want to go back to one more thing and then we'll, wrap up after that. But you were talking about hypnotherapy. I know that a lot of kids these days may have cyberbullying or just issues in their life, and they're very anxious. They have anxiety, they have depression, and obviously ChatterGirls helps, but does hypnotherapy help the anxiety and the depression that we're seeing so much in our young people today?
Yeah, because it's a kind of different depression. A lot of it is situational.
Mhm.
And we don't always want to give meds for situational situation. And the anxiety is different also. And so what happens is people go, hypnosis, ugh. But what people are seeing is when I talk to them and everything is hypnosis with children is different. They don't, children go into into the visualization with them, with for themselves in a lighter state. They don't need to go deep in because, as
Right,
we talked about the onion,
right,
they don't have all that stuff that we have stuff piled on.
right.
So, especially with anxiety, anxiety is the one that I really, really see that moms and dads are just, and it goes with everything, anxiety goes to fear, goes to anger, all of those. So, the anxiety gives them an opportunity to figure out where it's coming from. Okay. And so they get a time. How many of our kids disconnect and are quiet?
Mm,
And so they get to be quiet and listen to their mind. And I take them through the visualization, through the process. And then afterwards, we talk about what's coming up for them. And then we begin to work on it. And we
mhm.
begin to see the changes in everyday life and challenges. And I give them audios. And the other big issue right now is sleep. Our
Mm.
kids are scared to sleep. They are terrified to go to sleep.
Oh, boy.
I can understand,
Yeah.
you know? So the fears keep them awake. So we work a lot with being able to have a routine for sleeping. I have a routine for ADD and anxiety. So that's why life coaching and hypnosis goes together so well, is because you be able to find the problem, you be able to give them other ways to be able to deal with it. And then as they're learning how to just let it go and realize that their mind isn't holding on to it anymore, all those other things come in. So I like both those tools that have helped me be able to work with the kids and the women in those situations, and they very well together. But yeah, I mean, I have a kid right now. I have two kids, one with that are really dealing with anxiety, and the others dealing with sleep.
Mm.
And it's all about this school year. We're back to school. Today was the first day for our kids to go back to school, and the phones were ringing, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a situation of my kid doesn't want to get out of the car. And
Yep.
that's not just the high school kid, it's the 5-year old.
Yeah.
You know, turn your TVs off, reduce the amount of social media that your kid
Yes.
sees. I don't care how old they are.
I agree. I
Take
agree.
that time and do what we used to do. Play a real game
Yeah.
together. You know, you don't have to play the computer game. Watch a movie together. Listen to some music, dance, whatever. We don't have to have that chatter
Yes.
all the time because I'm afraid it might get worse before it gets better.
I
But if we can change it, might not with this generation right now completely, but everyone coming behind it, we're giving them all the tools we can get in their hands, and we will have some changes.
That's awesome. And then just to be clear, hypnotherapy is not like the old thing that you see in the movies where you have like a clock and you're like, yeah, you're getting sleepy.
No, what I tell the kids all the time is the first question I said, okay, I can't make you quack like a duck. When they have those stage shows and everything, I said, those people want to quack like a duck. I can't control your mind. And that's the reality of hypnosis with children. They have to trust you first. And
Right.
so I really work on trust first. And we do a number of different ways to learn trust, because once they trust you, then they can relax enough to say, oh, I'm thinking that maybe such and such happened. And I pushed it in the back of my head. So
Mhm.
no, we don't do that. I do use a big screen and some colors going off. just for them to have something to focus on and some music and stuff. And everybody goes, my kids said that they played in your room today. And I go, yeah, they did. Yeah, we played.
Awesome.
And guess what? We played and I got to this issue. So yeah, it might look like play. And sometimes it is play. I love playing. Sometimes it's a storybook. Sometimes there's a book. When I do hypnosis, I tell a story for them to be able to relax and let go of the stuff. One of the biggest things is that in our systems, we don't listen to our children. In our education systems and everything, we're talking at them. But the people who are teachers who talk with them, the parents who talk with them, make the difference.
Yes, I totally agree. Well, Alicia, I can tell you right now that you are making a difference with ChatterGirls. I love your program. And I want you to please provide us with 2 tips that either moms can apply for the young girls or the young girls can apply, or something that ChatterGirls program can impact so that it makes a difference in their lives. So 2 tips.
Okay, so one tip I really say is what I said at the very beginning. You have to have that time to listen to your child, not talk to your child, but listen to them. And do it without everybody else around. Okay, they have to, and even if it's at bedtime or whenever, but listen to your child. But don't try to always solve it. Guess what? They can solve it too. And sometimes listening to them helps them solve that situation. I once again believe very strongly in the journaling and the affirmations. Write affirmations, have the kids write 3 affirmations for themselves, or write an affirmation for the whole family, whatever. Affirmations, positive information in their mind as they begin their day. When they're brushing their teeth on that mirror, or they go to get that water out of the refrige and they see that, or they open that bag for lunch and there's that affirmation, that makes a difference. And so the little things count just as much as running them over to the therapy or whatever. Guess what, moms and dad? Y'all can do a little stuff yourselves and y'all can make a difference too.
Okay, so tip number 1 is to listen to your children. And what's tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is to get them to do affirmations, quality of affirmations, and then suggest journaling for your children at the end of the day. Let them write about what happened at school and have them write about it before you come in to say goodnight, because then they put it away and then maybe they might want to talk about it and let go of it before they close their eyes. They might sleep then.
That's awesome. And by the way, those 2 tips really apply to adults as well, because you can listen to your spouse or partner, and you can also do affirmations and journaling. So that's awesome. All right. Well, Alicia, this has been a fantastic conversation, and all of the things that we're talking about today, as far as ChatterGirls and even children, and really trying to listen to them, to empower them, to make them stronger, more confident, that is all going to translate into strong women in the workplace. And that's what my mission is all about. My mission is to eradicate the gender gap in the corporate world. And I'm doing so by empowering women in their career. So everything that you're doing, Alicia, will make a difference in the future, in the futures of these young women. So thank you for your service. And Alicia, any final thoughts?
Change the chatter. If you don't like it, you don't have to keep it. You have the power to change the chatter.
I love that. Change the chatter. Okay, Alicia. Alicia Marcos Birong, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. That was such a great conversation with Alicia. And just as a reminder, a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Michelle Mehta, who is a teen confidence coach. So this conversation with Alicia kind of follows Michelle's conversation, because with Michelle and I, we talked about teens, but now we're focusing on girls between 8 and 14. And I loved Alicia's program that's called ChatterGirls. And the reason is that that program really provides that foundation for girls in order to gain that confidence and let go of anything that may be taking up space in their head or in their heart. In one of my prior podcasts, we actually talked to Jane Westman, who says that we women, we ruminate so much, meaning that we make a mistake and we hold on to that mistake, and it's just not any good for us to keep reliving and keep holding on to whatever situation we failed at or we didn't accomplish. So it's always better to be able to experience it, feel the feelings, and let it go. So ChatterGirls is a program for the younger girls to be able to get their power back. And I absolutely love that. So to finalize our podcast for today, Alicia's 2 tips are: tip number 1 is to listen to your children. And tip number 2 is to have your children do affirmations, whether you put a little sticky note on the mirror. So the affirmations are good. And she also said, as part of tip number 2, is to have your child journal. I know that's not the easiest thing, but some kids, younger kids would potentially like to write out their feelings to, again, let them go and bring the power back to them. So with that, remember to be brave, be bold, and take action.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Let these stories of self-encouragement and professional development serve as a guide in navigating through corporate America in the most practical and fulfilling way possible. Do not forget to subscribe to the show at nowomanleftbehind.com for more content like this. Leave a rating and share it with your friends, because we want to make sure that no woman is left behind. Until I see you next time, remember to be brave, be bold, and take action.